Hi everyone. Dementia residents can still read, and this is often not realised. They can read and they like to read. They just need to be encouraged. The whiteboard compensates for memory impairment by them being able to read in a relaxed way and repeatedly what they or the others in the group have just said. So most dementia residents can read their name on their door. That's why with direction orientation they can reach their room and know it's their room by reading their name on the door. Similarly, in a workshop, they can spell out the letters and read their own name, and in this way, if other people's names are there, they can also read those, out loud often, S-A-M, and in that way, from an elementary level, the reading skills can be built both individually and in a group, in a dementia unit, in a facility such as a workshop. Is very educational. So just to give some examples of how these workshops worked with the mighty whiteboard, as I used to call it, because it was such a breakthrough. Bringing in that whiteboard compensated so much for memory loss and enabled these people to think and engage and read, especially if the topic interested them. So the topic that the residents were particularly interested in the second year of working with them, once they had now started to speak, albeit very slowly, still there was something there to work with. And the topic they decided to work with in the first year of the whiteboard learning was positivity. They loved being positive. Well, not so much they loved being positive, but they knew the importance of being positive. There was one resident and she used to say, my grandmother always used to say that we should always be positive and not be grumpy when we get old, but it's important for oldies to be positive. And, the group agreed. They all knew they had to be positive because, as they said, when we're negative, it's a downhill from there if you're negative. Living in such a place as this, you have to be positive. To manage, they had to be positive. So this whole year of working on this one theme of being positive was actually amazing. It was really amazing, because with them making an effort to be positive, and of course I was making an effort to be positive, and we were all learning about positivity through the workshop, defining it, describing it, what is positivity? How does it make you feel? Good, makes you feel good, makes you feel better, makes you feel bright. All these comments would come from the floor. And of course, once you start to think positively, then you don't want negativity around because you know how that makes you feel. So what happened after a while was that negativity was barred and banned basically from the group. If anyone was negative, others would say, no, don't want that, no negativity here. And so if you wanted to be part of the group and you wanted that company and companionship and stimulation, you had to be positive. So there was this lovely core little positive group working away, thinking away in the centre of the dementia unit. And with that, like we've mentioned, patience and tolerance built up because it's all part of one big lovely equation, isn't it? Once you start being positive, everything starts to become a bit better in your eyes and you start going on to the goodness side of the equation. So once that happens, then you start to think, well, maybe I should be a bit more tolerant to all these other people here that aren't maybe as lucky as me to be able to think and speak and communicate. So the people that were shouting out, well, they could actually communicate, couldn't they? But it was shouting communication. But at least, it was disturbing. It was negative in that sense. And so the residents finally began to realise that even if they had to be positive towards them as well, if they wanted their whole environment to be positive so that, they could live a nicer life. So even their positivity started to extend towards the other, upset residents. And it had an effect. I mean, not a complete effect, I'd have to say, because it takes a lot of everything to settle someone that's screaming or angry in a dementia unit. And sometimes nothing has an effect. But the main thing was that the core group still managed to keep up their positivity and patience and tolerance within their own circuitry, which was the really big thing, so that less and less they lost it, less and less they broke out, shouting back for these people to be quiet. Often it would go 1, 2, 3 weeks without any of the residents, shouting out to the others to be quiet. That's how strong the focus was. And because there was this brilliant whiteboard that they could read all these comments from, to garner back their thinking and their concentration and focus, so that, when they read up on the whiteboard, say one of the comments was, tolerance makes you calm, and then they'd read out loud, tolerance makes you calm, then they'd read it again, tolerance makes you calm. Then after they read it a few times, and they thought, okay, and they started to be tolerant and think about tolerance and apply tolerance, and then they'd be calm as a result of it. So really it was simple as that, just beautiful quotes. I mean, most of the quotes came out of their own thinking rather than, the great Greeks or Socrates or Aristotle that we often refer to. All their great quotes were just as good. I found them just as inspiring, more inspiring actually, because they're coming from people that have dementia. But all of us can think deeply. We all have an intellect. We can all come up with quotes, but we just choose not to do that half the time, or we just don't think to do it. But in these workshops we did, and the quotes that these people came up with was absolutely amazing. And there was one resident who, a lovely former nurse, and she used to sit there, she beady-eyed and alert, and she used to say, I can see them thinking. I can see their thinking. She used to get a lot of satisfaction from seeing others think. Now that was a revelation in itself as well. Yeah. Anyway, she was actually sustained by that, observing others and seeing them thinking, because she knew there was benefit with that. Once dementia residents start thinking along the right track with quality thinking, then their quality of life improves, which it did, and the whiteboard was a big part of that. So it's a good idea to have a little whiteboard in the room of the residents as well, for maybe quotes that they used to like, or a positive statement, positive, quote of the day, and then for appointments coming up, when you're coming to visit, when their birthday is, little notes of interest for them to be able to read and have in their room, to be able to recognize what's coming up, rather than just no man's land, not knowing what's coming up, what's happening, and having a shock when you turn up for their birthday and they don't know what on earth's going on, that not even knowing that it even is their birthday. Whereas if they've had their birthday on the whiteboard in their room up for a month, 5th of April, 50 or 60, 90 even, it's good for them to know they're going to be 90. Half the time they think they're 50 or 30. It's good for them to know their age, to reconcile and recognize time, space, distance, and everything else. And the whiteboard, you can do tons of things with the whiteboard and make them informative. And that information is there for the week with the resident to be able to work with. And it's a great thing, those whiteboards in the rooms and in the workshops. So I've written these 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. And they can be got from Amazon. All these videos, all the techniques are in these books, lots of techniques. They're in Amazon. The first 2 chapters you can read in Amazon as well, excerpts from there. And also you can get the books from my website, www.pietavalentine.com. And there's radio interviews and other stuff there. So thank you very much for your looks and your likes and your support and your recent subscriptions. I really appreciate it. And if you're a reader, do get the books. They're a great help. I mean, there's so much to learn and to absorb and to imbibe and to, use with people with dementia. If you can read the books and watch the videos, then there's a high chance of being able to do something practical and positive with your family member with dementia. Thank you.